Stop. To come to an end, cease to happen. Denoting one or more people or things already mentioned or assumed. Silence.
Oh, there it is.
Complete absence of sound. Stop. 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 Stop the silence.
Free Thinkers Radio is the page.
Stop
I'm on
the
it. Oh.
silence.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Stop the Silence Radio. I am Tamika L. Sims, your co-host, also known as the Ink Pen Diva. My host, Ebony Dixon, the baby jumper, is out this week, and we definitely miss her. But nevertheless, we have an amazing guest in studio with us, Mrs. Vyce Mose-Johnson. Vyce, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great.
Awesome, awesome. So we are excited to have you on Stop the Silence. So why don't you begin by telling our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Well, again, I'm Vyce Mose-Johnson. I am originally from Aiken, South Carolina. I live here in Columbia, South Carolina now. And I am by day a teacher, a technology teacher in Kershaw County. And by night, it was like, I'm kidding. Not by night, but all the rest of the time I own VMJ Media Group, where we're helping individuals and businesses tell their story via print and social media. I'm an author, a blogger, a playwright, and a speaker.
So that's awesome. So you bring a lot of creativity to the table. Now, one question that I like to ask every guest is, how do you find inspiration, or where do you find inspiration?
Well, I tend to get inspiration from a lot of things. It can be experiences, sermons, songs, people watching.
I know something about people watching.
And think up all kinds of stories from those scenarios.
So are you more inspired when you are in silence and solitude, when you're alone, or when you're out in nature, like you say, people watching in a coffee shop or something to that effect?
One thing I will not be is in nature. I don't do nature.
But people find inspiration in nature.
But no, I don't. I find inspiration being around happenings,
Right.
action going on, and in the car riding. I get different things will come to me, and I may have to give myself a voice memo or something to that effect. But never just outdoors.
Got it.
That ain't happening.
So never. So you're not the outdoorsy type.
No.
Okay. Awesome. So you are the author of 2 books.
Yes.
So why don't you start off by telling us about them?
Well, my first book is Shattered Cover Restored. And I got the inspiration from this book from a sermon series my pastor was doing back during that time on restoration. And so I was sitting there listening to the sermon. I really was listening. And and these
really was
these characters started coming to my head. And we love Waffle House. And so they're always saying scattered cover chunk, scattered cover something, something. So I was like, scattered covered, shattered covered, restored. I said, that's the name. That's the title. Shattered Cover Restored. And so then I wrote it as a play originally in 2013, I believe it was. And when I wrote the play, we ended up not doing the play. We did something else I wrote later on that year. And the play just sat there for the longest.
Okay.
And so I decided, well, this family is hilarious, so I really need to write a whole book on the family. So I took the play and just filled in the blanks and came up with the book.
Awesome. So this is a fiction book.
Yes.
And your second book is fiction or nonfiction?
Nonfiction.
So would you say that your creative process is different depending on the genre that you're writing in?
I would think so, yes.
So what is the process for putting together a fiction book versus a nonfiction book?
For me, putting together a fiction book is a lot easier because
Okay.
I can just go straight from the imagination. I can put the feelings that I want to put into these fictional characters because nobody knows who they are. So therefore, nobody can really tell their story except for me. And so it's easy for me to hear their voices, how they sound, how they're going to interact with one another, how this story is going to play out because it's completely out of the scope of my imagination. On the other hand, when I'm writing nonfiction, my second book was a lot harder for me to write. One is because it's about me.
Right.
And two, it was a tough time in my life. It's not like a whole life story, but a memoir, so to speak.
Right.
A piece of my life that happened, and it was very hard to write because I lived it, but I didn't give enough at first for people to understand and to really get into what I'm talking about.
Awesome. Hey, everybody. Thank you guys so much for watching us on Facebook Live.
Hey!
Hey, Dwayne. I saw Dwayne come on. Toddy. Hey, Toddy.
My daddy's on.
Hey, Daddy. Thank you so much for watching. Daddy, my birthday is on June the 1st. I need some crab legs.
If you didn't give me any, he didn't give you none.
So if you guys have questions for VC, she's our in-studio guest, please make sure that you drop them in the comments so that we can, she'll answer them at our next commercial break while we are enjoying this poetry right here. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you share this video out with your Facebook friends. Let them know that we are broadcasting live. We're on Periscope. We're on YouTube Live. So hello to those of you that are watching across those platforms. Remember, if you have poetry to submit to us, send an email to thebabyjumper@gmail.com. Also, we are looking for sponsorships. So if you have a company, if you have a business, an organization, a book that you're interested in promoting, please also send an email to thebabyjumper@gmail.com. Put in the subject line sponsorships. And if you're submitting poetry, make sure you put in the subject line poetry.
Hey, Sarah Holmes.
Hey, Robin. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hi, Torrance. Who's Torrance?
My brother.
Oh, hi, brother.
Hey, Carl and Julia. Thanks for watching. The kingdom on here. The kingdom on here.
The kingdom is on here. So when we pick back up, we'll pick back up with talking about your second book. And I'll piggyback off of this nonfiction piece too.
Okay.
Your fiction book, and then we'll do my tips, and then we'll pick back up with conversation.
Okay.
Let your love rearrange me from the sin that estranged me to a Savior who claimed me. And even though I can't see you, what if I need you?
Make sure y'all share it. Hi, Terry.
Will just be
Hey, Terry. Terry was our guest a couple of weeks ago.
what
Awesome, boom. This is cool. Daddy says hello.
And that was What If by John Jorgensen. I apologize, John, if I am mispronouncing your last name. But VC, before we went to commercial break, you were talking to us about your creative process for both a fiction and a nonfiction book. So your second book, you said, was nonfiction based on your life. So why don't you tell us a little bit about it and about the reason why you decided to write it?
Still Miracles is my latest book, due to be released on Friday.
Oh, congratulations.
Yay!
Hey, claps. We should have had a drummer for a drum roll.
Boom, boom, boom. And so and the significance of May 19th is
Okay.
that would have been my daughter's 11th birthday.
Okay.
So this story is about our infant loss story and subsequent adoption afterwards. And so what made me write it was it kind of went backwards. We started from the son and went back up. So I said I couldn't tell the story of the son and not tell the story of the daughter.
Right.
So that's how that happened. My son, if anybody ever follows me on Facebook, I talk a lot about my son. And he's a character. And Tamika thinks he belongs to her.
He does. He's my baby.
And his name's Xavier, and he is an absolute star. And so I write a lot about his conversations and things that he says. So people are like, you need to put that in the book. You need to put that in the book. I was like, you know what? I think so. I said, but I got to tell the whole story.
Right.
And so that's why I had to go back to that time in my life. And it was very, very hard for me to do it. But for me to write the book helped me to heal from the pain.
So one of the things that I found is that writing is a healing creative art. So even though it was some time ago that you lost your daughter, why now? Why tell the story now at this particular time in your life? Did something spark it, or why? I'm always interested in the timing of things. So why at this point decide to tell the story?
Well, I decided to go ahead and write it because I realized I had a friend who went through a similar situation. And I realized at that point that I wasn't as okay as I thought I was. And I blogged about it, and that was just a short little thing. I blogged about it and I left it. And then when I started writing the book, I said, okay, I got to get this out. I got to get this out of me. And the more I wrote, the more I'm like, you're not okay. You're not okay. And I wrote some more, and I left it alone for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to come back to it. Life happened. I had to come back to it. And then it finally released me to the point where I could finish it and get it edited and get it ready for publication.
So how do you encourage someone who is wanting to write their life story, but they're struggling with the emotional part of it? What would you say to someone who's at that place? How would you encourage them to continue on?
I would say write it in chunks.
Okay.
Give yourself room to breathe. Don't try to sit there and tell the whole story at once, because you're going to drain yourself emotionally, because that's where I was.
Mm-hmm.
I would get to a certain point, and it was like I was there all over again in the hospital, pushing, knowing that nothing's happening from this. And that is a pain that I wouldn't put on an enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And so to write about it, I had to put it down on paper, look at it, say, okay, this happened to me. Accept that, find some peace in it, and then move on. And that's the only thing I can really say to other people. That's kind of how you can find your peace while you're going through and writing those types of things, because you're going to have to relive it in order to help people to get through their situations.
So do you recommend, for someone that's interested in telling their life story, do you recommend that they wait a certain time period? Or how does a person gauge when they're ready to actually start writing?
Only you will know when you're ready, because for me, I could orally tell the story and not shed a tear, not really feel like I couldn't get through. When I started writing it, that's when it all came out.
Right.
And so I knew I was ready to go ahead and finish it out at that point, that I could feel. If I can tell it, I can write it. So at that point, I knew I could go ahead and go forth.
That's a very interesting point. So as we're here talking about going forth, we're going to lead into this week's writing tips, sponsored by the Ink Pen Diva, yours truly. And then we'll pick back up with VC when I am done. So this week's writing tip is actually sparked from a quote that I came across that was written by Paulo Coelho, who is the author of The Alchemist and several other books. Many people on my network is familiar with that literary work, but he's also the author of a few other books. And the quote says that you write because you need to write, right? You write because you need to write. However, the career of a book is beyond your control. And I define the word career here as longevity. The longevity of a book, the point of where you decide that your purpose and your passion is meeting, is essentially beyond your control. And tonight, I am going to sort of agree to disagree with him in that statement, and I'm going to provide you with 3 ways that you can control the outcome of your book. So way number 1 is to use the content to create knowledge-rich workshops, right? Which means that once you have written a book, you should always be adding value. You should always be thinking of ways that you can further develop or expound on the content that is found on the pages of your book. So make sure that you are not just writing a book and you're just leaving it on the shelf, but that you're always thinking of how you can take the content or what's found on the pages to create knowledge-rich workshops. And point number 2 is to ask yourself, what else can I be doing? What else can I be doing with my book? Case in point, I spoke with a former client earlier today, and she told me that she was interested in expanding her services to move more into the literary industry. And she did that because of the book that she wrote. So think about, what else can you be doing with your book? How else can you expand your knowledge base? How else can you use your book to become a more consistent revenue stream for you? Again, you don't want to just write and publish a book and just let it sit on the shelf and collect dust. You wrote and published a book because you wanted to do something with it. So, always ask yourself, what else can I be doing with this product? And then finally, and this is really a hard piece for most new authors and some veteran authors to understand, and that is, you have to promote. Right? You have to promote your book. You have to let people know that you're an author, that you're a writer, that you're published, that you have this product, and you have to be selling it. Now, here's the thing. Just creating one post is not going to do it. Creating 3 posts is not going to do it. Creating 7 posts is not going to do it. You have to be talking about your book every single day, multiple times a day, especially the way these social media algorithms work. Just because you're posting it during the time that they say you're supposed to post it does not mean that your audience is seeing it. So the way to prevent that is to make sure that you're always promoting, always talking about it, always sharing those little nuggets. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Promotion is key.
Absolutely. I completely agree.
Promotion is key. Promote. Awesome. So you mentioned in your introduction that you're an author. We've talked about your 2 books, but you're also a playwright,
yes.
Right? So tell us about some of the plays that you have worked on and what the plays that's coming up next for you.
Well, I started writing plays in college, and our choir concert became the play.
Okay.
And so I did 2 in college, and one was, I don't even remember, What God Joins, and The Seed You Sow.
Okay.
And they kind of went hand in hand. The Seed You Sow was the prequel, if you will, to What God Joins. Okay. And then after college, I didn't really write a whole bunch of plays because I didn't know where they were going to be performed.
Right.
So when I joined the church that we're part of now, and started being in the drama ministry and things like that, so I wrote some more, and they were Christmas things, okay. Christmas themed, holiday themed plays, and so there were. So Christmas, A Christmas Fix, a lot of them were based upon the sermon series at the time. Okay. And I got these characters, and they all intermingle with one another. And then, then Shattered Cover Restored was a play before it was a book. Of course, I mentioned that. And then upcoming this December, tentatively, we're going to put on Shattered Cover Restored.
Amazing.
So be on the lookout for casting call because I need to fill the cast for this. And we're going to be performing it in my hometown of Aiken, South Carolina.
Awesome.
So be on the lookout for those things coming on social media. Promotion.
Promotion is the word of the day. You got to promote. So what's your process like? Should an author, an aspiring author, if they've written a play, should they take it and turn it into a book? Is it the other way around? Like, what do you recommend there?
I wrote it as a play first because plays is that's my passion.
Okay.
Writing plays is my thing.
Okay.
Because I can hear the characters, I can see the characters. That's why when you read this book, you can hear the characters, you can see them on the stage.
Oh,
so it's easy to go from book to play. If the play is already there, however, you have the skeleton for your book, so you're just filling in the blanks.
Love it.
And so this book was easy for me to write, and it flowed quickly, and I probably wrote this book in a couple months.
Wow. So the beautiful thing about having a play is, as you said, there's the foundation, there's the structure. Mm-hmm. So all you have to do is go in and add the meat.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So you've mentioned a number of times about characters dancing in your head. So first of all, if you're hearing that, it doesn't mean that you're hearing voices, and it doesn't mean that you're crazy,
you're not
right?
schizophrenic.
It just means that they're that there are people talking whose voices need to be heard. There are
Absolutely.
characters who need to come to life, or there's somebody who's saying, knock, knock, I have something to say.
Absolutely.
And then you take what you hear and you put it on the page.
Absolutely.
So now talk to those that are authors that are listening who hear the characters, and how do you encourage them to not speak but let the character speak?
Sometimes I just sit there for a second. I just get quiet.
Okay.
And I can hear full conversations. I'm eclectic. So
Eclectic.
I can hear the full conversations. Like this book, I can hear the full conversations. I can hear the people I'm patterning these characters after, and how they would say it. And then if I'm driving, I'm gonna have to record it. If I'm not driving, I have to write it down. So when you hear these things going on, don't try to make up some. Don't force it. If it doesn't flow freely, leave it alone. They're not talking right now. Go to something else. Otherwise, get it down quick before it's gone. Because when they stop, when I don't hear nothing, if I don't hear anything and nothing's flowing, I'm not getting any inspiration, I stop. And then I come back to it. That's my writing process always has been.
Awesome. So that's character development. What about scene setting and developing the plot? What are your tips there?
I usually write out the synopsis of the story before I start writing it, so I need to know what's going to happen at the end before I start writing it.
Okay, so start with the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
I start with the end.
Okay.
In mind. Then I figure out how we're going to get there. How are these characters going to play a part? Because sometimes I might have a certain character, but that character's not going to fit in this plot for this particular play or this particular book, so I take them out or rewrite. I hear music coming up.
That's my girl LaToya. Say, hey, VC.
Hey, Ma.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank y'all so much for watching. I hope that this is helpful. I'm learning a lot.
Hey,
I'm learning
LS.
a lot.
My LS Tasha is watching.
Hey, Tasha.
And then my other Sarah, Deltas, share. Tell the Deltas, get on. Your Sarah's on. Hey, Stephanie. Love you too, Derek. Spoken word.
Thank you guys so much for the thumbs up and the heart love. We really appreciate it. I'm loving this new thankful flower. I just do that just because.
Just because.
I just love me some Facebook, honey.
It'll be gone in a little while, though. Wasn't it just for Mother's Day?
Oh my gosh. I hope not. I love the thankful flower. Let me send up a couple more.
But Facebook doesn't count your flowers in your hearts, though, do they?
They don't. It's not like Periscope. But our Periscope audience is counting their hearts.
Well, count them. Heart it up.
Heart it up, Periscope, and YouTube Live. Our YouTube Live viewers.
Oh, really?
Yes, we're over all these platforms. Honey.
That's
Stop
wonderful.
the Silence Radio.
I love
Listen, while we're on commercial break, if you are interested in being a guest, send your information to thebabyjumper@gmail.com. We are booked until like probably the 1st of July, but we'll need guests to take us in to the rest of the summer and fall and winter. So definitely send your information. We'd love to have you on. You see that we're a pretty relaxed group.
Yep. I'm coming back.
We're a pretty relaxed group. We have a great conversation. It's not scripted, so it's definitely conversational. So we'd love to have you in on the flow. I love it.
My dad's church plays spoken word from time to time.
Oh, do they
Between
really?
announcements or something.
That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading something the other day about millennials in church and what they need,
Mm-hmm.
and that they have to, that tradition and all those things will sort of have to adapt to what needs to happen in the 21st century.
Like older millennials can kind of go one way or the other.
Absolutely.
They can kind of, and then we Generation Xers kind of balance them out.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
That's what they said. That's what my friend said at church, and I was like, that's so true.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So there are times I can kind of see what they're saying, and there are other times like, y'all showing out.
And that was Speak Lord by Hosanna Poetry. And if you're just tuning in, we are live in the studio with Vyce Mose-Johnson, author, playwright, blogger, all around amazing woman. So, Vyce, you've been an amazing guest.
Yay!
Thank you so much. So, blogging, I want to make sure that we cover all of your platforms. Blogging, do you have any tips or anything you want to share for folks who desire to be bloggers?
Yeah, when you decide to blog, know what you want to blog about, what your niche is going to be. For me, writing is my niche. So my blog is about writing when there's something to say. Because there isn't always a time where it's going to be a book.
Right.
Or it's going to be this long story or what have you. It's just a bit of something that was on your heart. You want to write about it. And so I put it in the blog. And so Put a Pin in It is my blog. Putapininit.com.
Putapininit.com.
And that's PEN. And so if you desire to write a blog, know how you want to host it. There's different types of sites that you can use for blogs, Blogger, WordPress, blog. I was about to say kid blog, but that's for children. But nonetheless, figure out what platform you want to use for it, and then go from there. Figure out what your niche is. Make sure you know enough about it. Plan it out so you can blog as often as you want or as inoften as you want.
So how often would you recommend is a good average for folks that desire to be bloggers?
I would say probably about once or twice a week. Well, once a week or at least twice a month.
Once a week or at least twice a month.
Yeah.
So how much is too much?
I wouldn't do it every other day. You ain't got that much to say.
Right.
Like my absolute favorite blogger is Awesomely Lovey. And she probably blogs once or twice a month. When something's happening and she want to talk about it, then she'll blog about it.
Okay.
Other than that, it's very sporadic. It's not anything that's consistently all the time type deal.
And blogs are designed to be that way, I think. I think they're designed to be once, the creator has something to say, something inspirational, motivational, funny or whatever, then they'll tend to shoot an email out to their email list.
Right.
Right. Awesome. So before we go, I want to make sure that you share all of your social media, again, any upcoming events, website, etc., how you support business owners. Share that with our audience.
All right. Well, you can follow me on Facebook at VMJ Media Group, Instagram and Twitter, also VMJ Media Group. And what else am I supposed to tell them?
Website,
My
any upcoming events.
My website is under construction, but it will be vmjmediagroup.com. Hopefully that will be done within the next couple months. We're rebuilding it. And then I support businesses. Well, I do social media for events, nonprofits, churches, consulting, training. I come and speak to youth groups and women's groups on gems, not costume jewelry, which is knowing your worth, owning your worth, discovering your worth, and also the life in social media, using social media responsibly for parents, for teens, because in this day and time, it's very important to keep our children safe, and it's important for them to understand how to conduct themselves in the cyberspace.
And you mentioned a casting call earlier.
Yes.
So you want to share with that again?
We will be doing a casting call for the upcoming play for Shattered Cover Restored. Here is the book. And that is available on Amazon and from me if you want a personalized signed copy. Yes. And then Still Miracles, the casting call will be taking place probably over the summer because we want to get you the script and get you learning lines as quickly as possible.
Now, will that be in Columbia?
Yes.
Okay.
The casting call will be in Columbia. The play is going to be in Aiken, however. Rehearsals will be in Columbia, but the play will be in Aiken. So be on the lookout for that. And then I also have a book promotion launch celebration in Aiken on June the 10th from 1 to 3 at the Aiken County Public Library.
Oh, awesome. So if you're in the Aiken County area, definitely go out and support Vyce. June the 10th, what time?
1 to 3.
1 to 3 p.m. at the Aiken County Library. Get your personalized autographed copy of both books.
Yep,
Right.
I have both books.
Everybody loves a bundle.
Yes,
So hopefully she'll have a
yes,
bundle.
I have a bundle.
And you can purchase them together, buy them for your friends, share them with your network. Definitely support local authors. I'm big on supporting local authors. Nothing wrong with supporting the big names, but we have to make sure that we are supporting our own. Before we end, are there any last words that you have for our audience?
No, just write whatever it is that's on your heart. Get it down on paper. If you have something burning in your spirit that you want to put into words, get it down. Get it down. You can make some. You can find somebody to help you make sense of it, but just get it down.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for this week's edition of Stop the Silence. Again, I'm Tamika Sims, your co-host. Our host, Ebony Dixon, the baby jumper, is out this week. Stay tuned for next week's broadcast of Stop the Silence. Make sure you follow us, share. Again, if you're interested in submitting your poetry, sponsoring, or being a guest, send your information to thebabyjumper@gmail.com. Yeah.